Hello and welcome to our Midweek Conversation at First Baptist Sweetwater, where we strive to be the first responders of God's love. I'm Jerry Hendricks, and I'm here with T. Campbellton, and we had a great day in worship on Sunday.
Yeah, Senior Sunday. We get to celebrate all our graduating seniors. We've learned we have to say graduating seniors.
Right?
Because when we would say Senior Sunday, we had a lot of senior adults who would say, so what are we doing?
Man, I missed an opportunity.
Man, they would have, I got that every year, so now I say graduating seniors.
Yeah.
Because don't want to be confused.
I had learned in my era as student minister that you have to be very careful with language.
You do.
around that particular time, because
You
college graduates want to get included. I mean, you can get.
I didn't know about that.
I've had all kinds of things.
Yeah.
But no, it's a great day, and we were talking about the first time that we've had musical talent that could share with us on stage.
And they did a great job.
Oh, it was really good. Yeah, it was real good. And just enjoyed the day. No, I know that adds a lot of stress on you and student ministry
So
staff.
easy. Just breezy, easy. No stress at all.
Youth ministers worldwide are stressed on that day.
Yep.
They work extra hard for that to all go well, and you do want it to go well.
Oh, yeah,
for
most
all
definitely.
the parents.
Most
So.
definitely.
And so far, the response from parents and families on social media have been really, really positive.
Oh, yeah.
So I think everyone's appreciative.
And we finally got it down to where I think it's a good flow. You know, our gift that we do every year, we can say it now, is a Bible to the students, but we give it to each of our classes ahead of time, and they highlight their favorite verse and write a note to the kids. And so the first thing they do is they tear in that Bible and they're flipping through, looking for the highlights and the notes, and it's so cool to watch that.
Yeah. Well, it fit well with the theme, or the theme fit well with Senior Sunday. Either way,
It's amazing how that works out.
it did work out. And sometimes theme development or theme ideas come to us in a variety of ways. Most of the time, we do look at and consider the lectionary text and the calendar,
Right.
and then see if that fits with kind of where we are. And then obviously, we're in a season in the calendar where you have the appearances of Jesus and so
Right.
forth. So those, it's kind of hard to argue that it doesn't fit. But in terms of the theme, it just struck me with all of the things that are going on that typically go on for us in the month of May, including the significance of Memorial Day, Memorial Day weekend, and remembering. And then really the only Sunday that we didn't have anything that had a particular attachment was the third Sunday, and as it turns out, we're going to be doing ascending on that day.
Right.
So we experience these moments.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times a theme, at least in my view, a theme works best if it's either a word or a concept that we can identify with in our own life. And so this is definitely one of those.
It reminds me of the series we did, was it Portraits?
All right, yeah.
That was a good series that kind of fit with that concept of moments like we're doing now.
Yeah. So we're off to a good start in the month of May, and I know students rapidly start going through this succession of graduations, and we have graduates in all three schools.
Right, so not this Friday, but next Friday we got 2 schools graduating, and then the next one school.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
And the 2 that are graduating next Friday are at the same time. So that's fun. It always presents a fun movement for me and Stacy.
Right. Well, so a lot going on as we also get ready for summertime.
And it's already hot, so we know summer's here.
Yes, it definitely is. It's kind of warm, and not as warm as it was last year, it doesn't seem like.
Oh, I don't know.
Remember, it got hot real early in May.
And it was
real
hot for a long time.
Yeah,
we had a string of 100 degrees.
Anyways, the text was one of my favorites, and I acknowledged what most that preach on that passage acknowledged, that it is a very popular funeral passage.
Yep.
And it's one that I think, and my approach to it yesterday was developing it from the sense of home, and that I think that for most of us, in most ways, in the best ways, home is that place that it evokes a lot of positivity,
right?
At least hopefully a place of love and warmth and welcomeness. So I tried to come at it from that direction, and it's just one of those. It kind of becomes easy, but there is a lot of theology in that one.
Oh yeah, we did this text a couple weeks ago in youth on Sunday morning. We were talking about earlier how it's kind of coordinated but nice. But one of the things they developed in the commentary was that in the Middle Eastern culture, they would just build onto their houses. They just add rooms onto the house. Oh. And so if you're in that house and you just add a room on, you're part of that family. And so then tying that into Jesus preparing a place for us, many rooms, you're part of that family. And so that was a cool concept to think about, that we're adopted into God's family if there's rooms for us.
Yeah. Well, and it's, I do like that. And I think for whatever, well, one of my approaches at the outset was just a sense of home that we have and that we develop. And Sharon and I talked about this, that Sharon's from California.
Right.
And now that both of her parents have passed away, she really has no reason to go back home. And I was asking her, because in my life, I was able to, and we had planned on retiring in this West Texas area, and that was what felt like home to me.
Right.
And it is different when you have that experience. Like when we go back to Houston, we love that area and love going back there and had good times there the 10 years we were down there, but it never was home.
Right.
In fact, we were just there in April, and you're going, we invested a lot of our life here, but it doesn't have that same sense of home. And I think that's, when I read that passage, that's one of the things that captures me and draws me into what Jesus is talking about.
Yeah, most definitely. I think it'd be interesting to talk to people and ask them where they feel their home is.
Yeah.
Like hearing their story and why they consider it home. West Texas has always been my place where I've lived, grown up. That's always been it. But having moved, if like you're talking about moving around, when does a place become home to you?
Yeah.
Like, and what are the significant factors? And probably has to do with relationships, would be my guess.
I think so. And one of the reasons I use the opening illustration that I use.
A good illustration too, a really good one.
Well, I wasn't sure you were in there for that.
I was.
But
you're welcome here.
I had listened to this memoir on Audible, and so I was able to tell the story almost without error by what I was wanting to say. I left out one little piece, but it wasn't a significant piece. But I think that you're right. I believe that we find home when we find that place where we know that we're loved.
Right.
And I was thinking this morning, you can add to that some of the elements of safety. You feel safe,
right.
And cared for, but you also have shared life with people.
Yeah.
And there's something that's significant about that. And I think, and what's interesting is, coming in from this memoir perspective, even though some of those moments in a home are unwelcomed, and I acknowledge Sunday that unfortunately it seems that there are more and more cases where home is not a place that's safe, or not a place where a person feels loved and cared for.
Right.
And we do see evidence of that more and more. But in an ideal setting, and in the setting that I believe Jesus is speaking from, it's that place where we know that we're loved.
Oh yeah, most definitely. When you were talking about that, thinking about the place of home, it's all, when Jesus says, "Who are my mother and who are my brothers?"
Right.
I know it's not the same context, but when you think about it from our perspective of church life, it makes sense that those relationships become like family, or they become family to you.
Right.
So,
well, and I think that's when we talk about, last week we're talking about a community of faith and what community looks like. And I did make a reference then to how families tended to stay under one roof,
right.
Without the explanation that you brought up of adding to that home structurally,
right.
As families grew. There's definitely that sense, and in that experience, not all of the life that you do together is fun.
Right.
Sometimes it's very challenging.
Can't imagine having all the family under one roof and having to figure out those dynamics of relationship, of when you have issues or you have someone you're upset with or whatever, you're living under one roof, and holy moly.
Yeah. It's not like, and then the other thing is, it's not like you can go change your name.
True.
True. So,
True.
But I think it comes back to the importance in in a community of faith or in a home that unity is important.
Right.
And in a home,
Right.
the unity that you share is your last name. And I think in the church, our name, whether you call it Christian or disciple or God's children, I mean, we have that name that it ought to help us to kind of stay in the trenches and work through life together, so that we are united because of what we have in common.
And it makes all the more important understanding hospitality and welcoming.
Yeah.
Because there's someone new coming into a home or a family that's been together for so long. Even thinking back to if a lady got married and moved into the home of her husband with all the extended family, she's new.
Yeah.
And so you've got to find a way to connect her to be a part of the family. And that's the same way with churches today, that we have to look for those ones who are new and have hospitality and be welcoming to them.
Right. And there's always challenges there. And when a place wants to thrive there, I mean, if we're going to say that we want to be if we want our first response to be love, then we've got to work at that.
Right.
We can't just expect that that's going to come easy. But it's something that really, it's a culture, I think, that has to be created.
Right.
And there were several people nodding as I got to that point of we're glad that you're here, and we are welcome here. Yeah. So it was, anyways, a different way to open our time. And then, it's one of those things too, as I'm talking, I start to realize the significance of the moment that we're in.
With families there for Senior Sunday. It's
one of those things where, I study, prepare my notes and so forth, but it's kind of hard sometimes until you see the faces. And like in yesterday, we had a lot of extended family here.
Right.
That were here for the seniors. Yeah. And you realize more and more the significance of that moment that they're in.
Yeah, because they chose to a lot of them came from other towns to come be with their seniors. And they're going to be back in a week or two for graduation. Yeah. So they chose this. It was important enough to them to be here for their family members for just a worship service.
Yeah, so some real close families. Right. Local families that brought a lot of extended families. Oh, yeah. So it was really a good gathering in that regard.
We had plenty of cake, so that was good.
By plenty of cake, what you mean is you got to take some cake home?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well planned.
It's a good day.
Well, one of the things, I pretty much focused on the question that was asked about, we don't know exactly where you're going, so that there's something that we don't quite understand, and there's a mystery to all of that. But even in that mystery, it doesn't create in us a suspicion or a fear, but a place of home.
Right.
And one of the things that I didn't talk about that is also a key part of that passage is when Jesus, the conversation is going towards, show us who's God and how can we see God? How can we see the Father? And Jesus says, when you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Right. And there's obviously there's a lot of lessons when we talk about the theology in those 14 verses. And most of the time, I don't cover all 14. But I wanted to at least capture verse 6, which I've never done the front end of that passage since I've been here. I did do one sermon that started on the latter part where we talked about our responsibility. But I think it's helpful too in knowing and reading that passage that we want to get a picture of Jesus, and when we get a picture of Jesus, then we have a picture, an accurate picture of who God is.
Right. One of the pastors we listened to said, because of that passage, says God has always been like Jesus. There's never been a time that God wasn't like Jesus, or vice versa, because God doesn't change. That's part of our theology, and believe God never changes. And so if you see Jesus, that's who God is. That's what God looks like. If you see any other representation, then you're misunderstanding, you're misinterpreting, you're creating Jesus in your own image.
Right. Hey, and I don't know if you were in there or noticed that I got a quote from N.T. Wright.
I did. It was awesome.
I
really enjoyed it.
You paid far more attention. I thought you were just really busy yesterday. I didn't know that you got to hear.
I was, but I was listening. But no, the one about if you can follow Moses, you follow Krishna, you follow Buddha, that'll get you to the foothills, but only God, Jesus, can take you to the summit.
Yeah, that was
No, that was really good. What
Yeah.
book was that in? Do you remember?
Everyone every day. What's it
Every
called?
Day. Oh, the commentary series.
commentary,
Okay, yeah. The whatever, John for Everyone.
Yeah, when I saw, my eyes fell on that. I go, all right, I got to use that, and I recalled it without having to look at my notes.
Yeah, no, it was good.
I did. It was the last thing I did before I left home was I went back and looked at it again and reread it to make sure that I had it right in my head, and then I scribbled something extra on my notes. But
it was really good because we're in a culture that even some of the Christian culture that says it's all right. There's a lot of different ways.
Right.
Just follow your way, and it doesn't work.
Right, and he was very. I think. Well, this is one of those instances where the commentary really gave me boldness on landing on that, because normally I focus on so many of the other parts of that. I don't really use that one. And again, coming back to other pastors, you'll tie that back into when you've seen me, you've seen the Father.
Right.
And that was a connection I didn't make. I kind of went towards this cultural, spiritual faith experience I feel like a lot of us have. And it was, anyway, I felt like it was enough, but I definitely wanted to land squarely on that.
Yeah.
And
it was good.
Brought his quote in there. So, well, next Sunday, the moment that's going to be the backdrop to our experience is going to be Mother's Day. We've got a photo booth set up in the Welcome Center, and we'll have a photographer there to help take photos with their camera or your phone, I'm assuming.
Right.
Yeah.
That works.
It ought to be a great setup. We're looking forward to that, and the remainder of these weeks as we consider different moments in our life. So, anyways, appreciate getting the chance to spend this time with you, Teek.
It was fun.
It's always a pleasure.
I'm up and around.
I never know exactly how you feel after you've been through a strenuous, because it's not just a strenuous day, it's a strenuous weekend.
It was this time.
And you had other things that you were responsible for last week within our community that took a lot of your time and attention. So thanks a lot for doing a great job with our seniors on Sunday. And we'll look forward to another great worship experience this Sunday as we celebrate our moms.
See ya.